My friends, I'm a great believer in lists. I make lists for almost everything. And we're going to go through a list today. My name is Howard Riell. This is Riell Truth. Welcome. Here's a list that was compiled a couple months ago, March 10th. The list of President Trump's accomplishments so far. Yes, we're going to be talking about James Comey's announcement today. Yes, we're going to be talking about Alyssa Milano and John Boyd. We're going to get to all that stuff. But first, the list. And if you go on my Facebook page, Riell Truth Radio, you should be able to find this list. I just posted it. I think it's there. The list of Trump's accomplishments. This was compiled by Mark Simone, my colleague, radio talk show host. Let's go through it. Igniting an historic economic boom. President Trump's pro-growth policies are unleashing economic growth and providing opportunities to workers across the country. Due to President Trump's pro-growth policies, real gross domestic product growth exceeded 3% over the last 4 quarters. Real GDP grew at annual rates of 3.4% in the third quarter of 2018 and 4.2% in the second quarter. More than 5 million jobs have been created since President Trump's election, and the unemployment rate remains below 4%. This is the 8th time this year the unemployment rate has been below 4%. Prior to this year, the unemployment rate had fallen below 4% only 5 times since 1970. The unemployment rate for African Americans in May fell to 5.9%, which is the lowest rate on record. Asian and Hispanic American unemployment rates have reached record lows this year. Initial weekly jobless claims have hit a nearly 50-year low under President Trump. Under President Trump, job openings outnumber the unemployed for the first time on record. Recently, more than 2/3 of Americans rated, quote, now as a good time to find a quality job, tying a record high in a poll by Gallup. Americans are seeing more money in their pockets thanks to the booming economy. In recent months, workers are seeing their largest nominal year-over-year wage growth in nearly a decade. In 2017, real median household income rose to a post-recession high. President Trump's policies are helping to lift Americans out of poverty. African American and Hispanic American poverty rates reached record lows of 21.2% and 18.3% respectively in 2017. Since the election, 4.6 million Americans have been lifted out of food stamps. Consumer confidence has soared under President Trump, recently reaching an 18-year high. President Trump is delivering on his promise to bring back American manufacturing. The National Association of Manufacturers Outlook Index had the highest annual average in its history over the past year. Manufacturing added 284,000 jobs in 2018, the most in a year since 1997. Small business optimism jumped to a record high under President Trump, according to a survey by the National Federation of Independent Business. The NFIB Small Business Optimism Index broke a 35-year record in August. President Trump signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act into law, ushering in the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. These tax cuts are delivering real results for American families and workers. More than 6 million workers received tax cut bonuses and benefits. More than 100 utility companies have announced lower rates. President Trump is ensuring American workers receive the training and education they need to compete in today's economy. President Trump signed an executive order establishing the National Council for the American Worker. More than 185,000 companies and associations have signed our Pledge to America's Workers, promising more than 6.4 million new training and career opportunities. The president signed legislation that reauthorized the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act, making more than $1 billion available for career education programs. President Trump has prioritized the economic empowerment of women. The women's unemployment rate recently reached its lowest rate in 65 years. The Small Business Administration lent approximately $500 million more in capital to women-owned businesses in 2017 compared to 2016. The administration helped launch the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative, which could leverage more than $1 billion to support women entrepreneurs. President Trump is rolling back costly regulations that have burdened hardworking Americans and stifled innovation. He has followed through on and exceeded his promise to roll back 2 regulations for every new one created. President Trump's administration surpassed the 2-to-1 ratio in 2018, eliminating 12 regulations for every new one. In 2017, the Trump administration eliminated 22 regulations for every new one. Since taking office, President Trump's deregulation efforts have achieved $33 billion in regulatory savings. In 2017, these efforts alone delivered $23 billion in benefits to American families and business owners. President Trump has signed 16 Congressional Review Act resolutions into law, eliminating burdensome Obama-era rules and regulations. President Trump announced U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement, which would have harmed America's economy and cost American workers millions of jobs. President Trump signed an executive order to streamline the permitting process for infrastructure projects with the goal of cutting approval time from up to 10 years to an average of just 2 years. President Trump signed legislation to roll back burdensome Dodd-Frank regulations that harmed community banks. President Trump is negotiating fair and balanced trade deals that protect American industries and workers. He negotiated a new trade agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico to replace the disastrous and outdated NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. Once enacted by Congress, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement will better serve the interests of American workers and businesses. USMCA will incentivize billions of dollars in auto and auto parts productions in the United States and create a freer and fairer market for American agriculture. USMCA also includes the strongest ever provisions on labor, environmental, digital, and intellectual property protections to reflect the realities of the 21st century economy. The president renegotiated the United States-Korea Free Trade Agreement to preserve and grow jobs in the American auto industry and increase American exports. The United States and Japan are set to begin negotiations on the U.S.-Japan Trade Agreement. President Trump is establishing a new trade relationship with the European Union, working toward the elimination of tariff and non-tariff barriers to transatlantic trade. President Trump has established a trade and investment working group to lay the groundwork for post-Brexit trade with the United Kingdom, and has notified Congress of his intent to negotiate a free trade agreement with the UK. This year, President Trump filed a withdrawal notification with the Universal Postal Union, launching a 1-year negotiation to secure fair international postal rates for American mailers. President Trump has expanded market access for American agricultural producers. Argentina has opened to American pork and beef, Brazil to American beef, Japan to lamb and Idaho chipping potatoes, South Korea to American poultry, and more. All right, I'm going to stop there. This is quite an extensive list. I could go through an entire hour-long show just reading off accomplishments. I'm not going to do that. However, like I said, I've posted it, and I invite you and encourage you to go to Facebook, go to my Facebook page, Riell Truth Radio, find this list, read it, familiarize yourself with it, share it, talk about it with everybody you know. Because this is the real deal. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is what's been accomplished for the American people. And this is what we have to keep in mind when we go forward into new elections, like the one coming up in 2020. Riell Truth, right back.
family-owned and locally operated. We've been serving Northern Colorado for over 18 years. Thank you for your support. Before hiring a realtor from a big corporation who outsources their job that pays little to no tax, ask yourself what you really want in a realtor. You need a realtor who's honest and has integrity. A realtor who's focused on the client's bottom line, not the realtor's bottom line. Who provides personal, over-the-top service before, during, and after the transaction. You want a realtor that knows how to market your property. Hi, I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham and Associates LLC. I am your Colorado real estate specialist. Land deals, mountain cabins, or urban dwellings, I've got you covered. For the first-time home buyer, we will make it the best experience. If you are looking to move up or downsizing, we will do better than your last transaction. Call me today at 720-203-0731 or visit coloradoproperties.online. Let me do a great job for you. Now, right here, KHMC, Colorado, stay tuned. Right here, KHMC.
All right, guys, we're back. Howard Riell, Riell Truth. What's that you say? Yes, author of Riell Truth, Stay Angry. Go to virtualbookworm.com. Buy it, commit it to memory. When the day comes and you pass from this world, have it buried with you. Or better yet, lend it to people so they can read it. All right, let's get serious. Bob Mueller went on TV a couple hours ago, held a press conference from the Justice Department, and his goal was to cover his own butt and to stoke the flames of controversy even further. He said, look, we didn't find enough evidence to prove the president colluded. The implication, of course, being that, well, there is evidence. We just don't have enough, which is pure crap. Now, here's Newt Gingrich talking about this pure crap on Fox News right after the press conference. Go. But being innocent is not what the leftist media wants. They want, if not, of course they want him to be guilty, but he's not, so they got a problem. So they've got to create suspicion. They've got to create a dark cloud. Well, maybe we didn't catch him, but maybe there's something there. Hoping, of course, that their supporters among the American people, the voters, are stupid enough to fall for it. I am not. And hence we'll continue. Let me I want to talk about this. Let's put, since we're dealing with the swamp, and believe me, this is the swamp writ large with a capital S. Here is Sean Hannity from last night pointing out the fact that all these people in the swamp are scared. They know that the tide has turned, and now the attack dogs of justice are coming after them, and rightly so. Here's Hannity.
Welcome to Hannity. We're going to bring a lot of news.
By the way, let me interrupt. All these names you're hearing from Comey on down, they're all afraid. Here's why. They figured there was no chance of Donald Trump winning. They figured Hillary was a shoo-in. If Hillary had won, none of this, zero of this, would ever have come to light. And that's what they were counting on. They obviously didn't do an extraordinarily good job of covering their tracks because people have found out all this information in just the course of the last year. Now they're scared because we've got honest people in the Justice Department. We've got an honest man in the White House. And they're determined to see to it that this attempted coup d'etat, and that's exactly what it is, doesn't ever happen again. And the guilty are punished. And so like rats fleeing a sinking ship, they're getting out of town. They're covering their butts. They're resigning. They're afraid. And that's good. The more afraid they are, the more safe this country is and the better off you and I are. Please continue, Sean. Keep one thing in mind, my friends. It's not only Donald Trump that these people went after. People have been put in jail, as you heard. People put in solitary confinement. Lives have been ruined. And it's been so because the deep state, the swamp, can do whatever it wants to anybody it wants. Which means it could do the same thing to you if they want. Well, that's a dreadful abuse of power. And it's completely and wholly un-American. That's not a justice system we can be proud of, not the justice system that we deserve. It's like a secret police force, and it's got to be rooted out and ripped out of the ground.
Now, late last week, the president.
By the way, James Comey's op-ed pieces in the Washington Post. Washington Post is just as disgusting and dishonest as Comey himself. Why would any respectable newspaper take a liar and a leaker like Comey and give him space, editorial space? Unless they stood to benefit from those very same lies. I just hope there's a camera there when sentence is finally passed on Jim Comey. And he's perp-walked out of the courthouse Same for Clapper and Brennan. Brennan especially. He is the most odious hemorrhoid I've seen in this whole affair. Well, here's hoping for better times. Let's take a break and we'll be back with more Real Truth.
Now, for some reason,
today is completely dependent on technology. Almost all services we count on, including food, water, and transportation. Computers are operating the power grid, and even the cars we drive. In the event of a massive power surge or an electromagnetic pulse in the atmosphere, this could render the country completely helpless. The president has just signed the first executive order to identify problems with critical infrastructure in the USA and prepare the United States in the event of an EMP attack. The power and water may come back on, but your phone and all of your computer-managed devices may be ruined forever. EMPshield.com has the solution. They offer the world's first full EMP protection device made in America. They can protect your home, office, auto, solar, RVs, campers, generators, and the list goes on and on. As a listener to the American Freedom Network, you can enter our call letter KANC into the order code box and receive additional listener discounts. It pays to listen to KHNC. Go to EMPshield.com and find out. Our healthy nutrition profile is a free, one-hour interview with an account. We look at the need of free exercise, meditation, skin, food, training, stress, healthcare, history, ability, everything that makes you a unique person. No one is like you. Then we will suggest food change. Maybe you should add something to your diet. Maybe you should eliminate something. Then we suggest greener fiber supplements. We usually suggest between 2 and 5 days. 60 capsules of and 50 supplements. We're not obligated to anything. Call us at 888-765-HERB. That's 888-765-4372. Discuss your health obligation. Tax season, traffic, bills,
All right, let's go to Trey Gowdy. You know, throughout the last couple of years, I've been watching Trey Gowdy. He's retired now from the Congress, but he has been an honest, stand-up, straight answer kind of guy. Doesn't take any guff from these sleazebags in the swamp. Here he's being interviewed on Fox News, and he's talking about James Comey, and he's saying Comey has dug himself into a hole and he has no one to blame but himself. Here we go.
That's treason. That's treason.
This is the president.
Couldn't win the election.
Yeah, let me take a big turn also, Martha. Let's turn away from the specific details, which are very important, but let's rise up to about 30,000 feet. All of the garbage that's been done, all the lies, all the real collusion, all the investigations, all the slander, all of it, the whole swampy mess has been done by Democrats. And so I throw my question out to my millions of Democrat voters out there across the United States of America and the world. Is this the party you want to vote for? Are these the kind of lowlives you want to support? Do you want to empower them to do more corrupt things, to infiltrate, to spy, to investigate, to tie the government in knots so it can't accomplish what the government should accomplish? These pieces of trash that we're talking about, the Comeys and the Muellers and the McCabe's and the Orrs and the Brennan and Clapper, if you're voting Democrat, these are your guys. What they do represents you. They represent you. Are you okay down in the mud doing these disgusting things? I'm guessing that you're not. So why on earth would you consider voting Democrat when all the miscreants, all the evildoers are on the left? To say nothing of people who want to rip down our border, sanctuary cities, higher taxes. It's insanity. I don't see why any American feels that he or she will be better off with Democrats running anything. If anything, we're more in danger. Not just of illegal aliens coming across the border, but our own intelligence agencies plotting and acting against us. This is a creature of the left, of the Democrats. We need to be real clear about that. Got an important election coming up, and we can't afford to screw it up. It's time to be smarter. When we come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit. I think maybe we'll hear from Bill O'Reilly. We'll have a good time. No shortage of things to talk about on this show, ever, as we barrel towards August 24th and our 11th anniversary. Listen, you need something to do during the commercials, right? Go online and buy Riell Truth Stay Angry by yours truly. Great reading, packed with truth. We'll be right back. All right, my friends, here's a disclaimer. I have never watched even 1 minute of any show that Alyssa Milano has been in. She is a nitwit, feather-brained actress in Hollywood who feels like shooting off her mouth, and every time she does, she puts her foot in it. Now she was having a problem with the famous actor Jon Voight, who is a Trump supporter, saying Jon Voight should shut up. He's a wash-up actor. Well, Alyssa Milano will never rise to the level that a Jon Voight has risen to. But that's beside the point. Here's Bill O'Reilly talking about Alyssa Milano, Jon Voight, and in a larger sense, the public discourse. Go ahead, Bill.
Hi, Bill O'Reilly here for News.
Notice one thing, my friends. If you say something the left disagrees with, they don't disagree with you. They don't try to prove you wrong. They don't offer a counter argument. They go for the jugular. They insult you personally because that's the liberal mindset. That's the left. So get yourself away from the left at your earliest opportunity.
Woman, Alyssa Milano.
Well, hang on a second. What has she done? Was she on a TV show called Charmed many years ago? Now she just pops up in the media once in a while, shitting off her mouth and saying brainless things. What has Alyssa Milano done? Better question. She's an attractive young woman. Who has Alyssa Milano done? That's what I'd like to know. Actually, I'm not real interested.
I'm in a class of Jon Voight. Now, here's the larger issue. Why are the personal attacks?
Well, it's a good question, Bill. I'm glad you asked. I'm happy to answer. As I've said numerous times on this show, you break people down right and left. On the right, you have thinkers, and on the left, you have feelers. People who are not intellectual, but they're overly emotional. And they can always be counted upon to react overly emotionally. And that's why when Jon Voight says something, the Alyssa Milanos of the world get savage, they get angry, they get fierce, they get insulted, they get rebellious, because they're all emotion and very, very little intellect.
Voight believes that President Trump is
But the left doesn't care about rights. The left is willing to strip you of your rights. Because they're better than you are, you see. And so they can do anything they want, and your rights don't count.
I think
Well, that's a mistake that you make, Bill, and here's why. In 2 years in office, Donald Trump has accomplished much more than most presidents, maybe for all I know, all presidents have, certainly in their first 2 years. He's already accomplished more good for America than Obama did in 8 years. And so we can stop after 2 years and evaluate the job that the president is doing. He's done a valiant and a righteous job for the United States of America, and I also believe that he may indeed be the best president we've had since Lincoln.
Gives the economy,
Listen, let's get real. Alyssa Milano is an actress, and she's getting older, and she's starting to sag a little bit, and starting to the little wrinkles in the corners of her eyes, so she figures she'd better get whatever traction she's ever going to get. She better get it now, before her backside begins to widen, and they won't cast her in anything anymore. She's desperate for attention. And she's not especially bright. And so she's going to go out in public and run her mouth and say stupid things. And people are going to roll their eyes and she becomes a laughingstock. Well, fine, I don't care about Alyssa Milano. She can take a header off a bridge for all I care. But the important thing to know is that the left always fights dirty. They always fight mean and nasty because they, generally speaking, are mean and nasty. And if you press them, if you disagree with them, those who are not mean and nasty will become so. So I welcome Alyssa Milano on this show if she wants to be on. Have your agent call me. We'll book you. And we'll listen to you. And then as a chorus, we will all laugh at you. Because you're a simp, my dear. One of too many in Hollywood. And as for John Voight, I praise him for his courage in speaking out, speaking his mind in that kind of an atmosphere. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back, and we'll finish up with some more Real Truth. Stick around.
Energy crisis of the 70s, people think we came up with it in they increase that for the year. And you're at the end of the forecast. Previously, that's the way yes. That's the way 43 years later, a lot has changed. A lot of our conversations have been operated. Here's the thing. Thinking that's the way it's been. Founded in 1933, 465, 303, 469, 803. Grandfather, father,
Item from thelocal.ch, the 2019 edition of the exclusive Bilderberg meeting will take place at the Hotel Montreux Palace in the Swiss town of Montreux from Thursday to Sunday. It will feature Swiss Finance Minister Uli Maurer, French Economy Minister Bruno Le Maire, the head of Germany's Christian Democrats, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, and Credit Suisse CEO Tidjani Thiam, among others. According to Swiss daily Tages-Anzeiger, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will also be among the attendees, although he's not on the official guest list on the Bilderberg website. The Swiss paper reports Pompeo is set to sit down with Uli Maurer. The two are tipped to discuss the situation in Iran, where Switzerland represents U.S. interests. However, Swiss Finance Ministry told the local on Tuesday no meeting was envisaged between Pompeo and Maurer. The yearly Bilderberg Talkfest, which dates back to 1954, features a guest list of around 130 people from Europe and North America, including everyone from royals to business tycoons and academics. A highly secretive affair without a fixed agenda, the Bilderberg meeting is regular fodder for conspiracy theorists who believe its participants act as a secret world government. Unquote. Well, there's no need to be dramatic and make it a secret world government. But the fact of the matter is, Bilderberg draws the richest, most powerful people on the planet. And if you think they are not stacking the deck in their favor, then you better think better. Item from Politico. He's dominating in the polls. His fundraising is going gangbusters, and he's showing broad support for key political players in the early presidential states. So where are the big energetic crowds, the lines around the block to get into Joe Biden's events? Attendance at the former vice president's launch rally paled next to some of his rivals. In his first Iowa visit, he didn't match the crowds that greeted Elizabeth Warren or even the less well-known Pete Buttigieg in their initial visits. So far, he's kept his events to smaller venues where there's little danger of empty seats. Unquote. My friends, the secret is out. Joe Biden is a loser. Item from the End of the American Dream blog. Michael Snyder writes, in this article I'm going to share with you a perfect example of why so many people believe that there's little hope for the future of America. The young adults of today are going to be the leaders of tomorrow, and generally speaking, the young adults of today are not in good shape. Survey after survey has shown millennials reject traditional American values more than any other generation that's come before them by a very wide margin. They are selfish, rude, arrogant, boastful, proud, disrespectful, ungrateful, undisciplined, slothful, and completely obsessed with themselves. In fact, one study found they're the most narcissistic generation in American history. They feel entitled to everything, but they don't want to work for it. They want to be treated like kings and queens, but they don't see a problem with treating others like dirt. Of course, there are plenty of young adults that are shining examples, but in general, young adults under the age of 30 in America today are a complete mess. So what's the solution to this? Well, that's easy, my friends. I don't know. Better parenting, but you know, once kids get to a certain age, the effects of their parents are minimized. I don't know what to do about this. All I can offer is a suggestion that we get the best information, the truest information out there, and hope that people recognize it as such and accord with it in their actions. All we can do is give people the tools to be better. We cannot force them to be better. If only we could, right? All right, I'll see you tomorrow, folks. Hasta luego.